Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watch You Want, and thanks for logging on. Today, we're looking at the Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Grande Tradition Minute Repeater. You can see this 44.5mm titanium minute repeater and buy it on our website, watchyouwant.com. And if you enjoyed these videos, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Watch You Want Inc. You can also click on the card in the upper right-hand corner of the screen at any time to see our full listing for this watch with additional accessories included, high-resolution images, and of course, complete pricing details. Now, on my wrist, 6 1/3 inches, 16 centimeters in circumference, the 2011 SIHH Novelty looks and fits more appropriately than its 2005 predecessor, the Master Minute Repeater. Now, in terms of bare dimensions, there doesn't appear to be much change from the 2005 original, but this watch has finer lugs and a better fit for a smaller wrist, and having experienced both, believe me, I can attest to the improvements made to the ergonomics of this successor model. Now, 44.5mm across the round of the case doesn't include the crown, and it doesn't include the repeater slide. In terms of outright thickness, it is a sizable timepiece, 16mm thick. This is the kind of watch that you want to pull out from underneath a sleeve simply to enjoy the look of it, never mind the exquisite sound. And from lug to lug, it's large but not overwhelming, 53mm from lug to lug, and the lugs do curve down nicely around the tight bend of a smaller wrist. So if you have a smaller forearm like my 16cm circumference wrist, you should be able to wear this one with proportion and security. I would say down to about 15 centimeters in circumference, you're going to be able to wear this watch without any compromises whatsoever. And because it is rendered entirely in titanium, it is very light on the wrist, so there's no sense of wearing an oversized and overbearing sports watch. It's definitely not to that effect. Now, the strap is one of the best I've seen from Jaeger-LeCoultre. The company has several different levels of finish and several different levels of strap, depending on what price point you're purchasing, and the Master Minute Repeater family traditionally has been right at the top. This one hailing from the Master Grande Tradition segment of the Master family. It's the absolute flagship line of JLC, and you can see the beautiful bolstering of that rectangular scale black alligator leather. You can see the gorgeous monotone stitch and the semi-conforming spring bar that really does kind of conform to the flank of the case. Visually, it's just a bit more coherent, and the substance of this strap, as you can see in profile, is incredible. Now, it does taper off a little bit as it moves away from the wrist and becomes a little softer and more pliant on the underside. It's matched to JLC's first generation double deployant clasp, also made of titanium here. It closes secure, and it actually looks like a traditional pin buckle when it is closed, so it's very elegant. The proportions are minimal, and because it has that double fold, it doesn't have the one big up and over that can often pinch skin on a smaller wrist. Now, the watch and the caliber are almost indistinguishable from one another, as the entirety of the dial, which takes up the vast majority of the watch's face, essentially consists of the caliber 947 15-day minute repeater. And yes, it is a 15-day minute repeater. Thanks to twin mainspring barrels, this watch has 360 hours of autonomy between windings. So if you're that ultimate collector who has such a huge rotation that a watch might get lost for a week or two, use this one to keep time for all the rest. You can put this one down, pick it up 2 weeks later, and it's still ticking, still keeping time. Now, you can see that the watch uses Openwork dial architecture to good effect. You can see the calibrations of the torque meter assembly, as well as the 15-day power reserve, and you can see the semi-skeletonized, ruthenium-colored hour track and minute track outboard. The gorgeous use of color includes cobalt-blued kiln-fired screws. It includes the gorgeous violet jewels. You can see them to good effect on the governor just below my finger. It also includes handsome use of two-tone. Two-tone is very controversial. Not everyone likes it, but it's hard to deny the artistic success of the use of rose gold elements atop the beautiful ruthenium-coated elements beneath of the movement and the dial. This is colored gold being used at its best as an accent, almost like jewelry on the watch, not overblown, just enough to set it apart to distinguish it, and it is all 18 karat, beautifully made. You can see that the movement's principal aesthetic features, including the governor, the gongs of the repeater, the hammers of the repeater, as well as much of the train, it's really front-loaded, because when you turn the watch over, not that the backside isn't beautifully executed, but because it has that huge barrel bridge with the Côte de Soleil, most of what makes this watch go is simply hidden beneath that expansive bridge. Now, the work done at the periphery of the bridge, the anglage, is the best I've seen on any Jaeger-LeCoultre watch. Let's break down some of the technology here. We're talking about a free-sprung balance, a Breguet overcoil hairspring, a 21,600 vibration per hour beat rate. It does have a dual-anchored balance bridge, so there's even a measure of ruggedness and of shock resistance engineered into this watch. And it's important to note it's one of the few minute repeaters that boasts any degree of water resistance, and not a token 2 or 3 ATM, but 5, and that in spite of the repeater slide. It is a very impressive feat of engineering. Now, JLC is a little bit different from Lange and Patek. There's one standard of finish at those manufacturers, and oftentimes you're going to be looking at cost being a function of complexity. With JLC, a lot of times the company will sell you complexity up front with a lower level of finishing, that being an understood compromise that's made in the name of getting more features for your money. This watch offers no compromise. Because it is one of the flagship pieces of the manufacturer, you get all of that mechanical engineering mastery and a standard of finish that is, quite frankly, above and beyond anything else JLC makes. Lange and Patek have one standard of finish, many standards of complexity. At JLC, if you want the highest standard of finish, you have to pay the highest price, and this watch offers that. Now, it does have 413 pieces, 43 jewels, twin mainspring barrels. The torque meter assembly is one of the unique features of this movement, and you can see it to good effect right here. As I wind the watch, rather setting the time there, but as I wind the watch, you can see the torque meter assembly takes itself out of action and disengages. What it does is it tells you how much torque the mainspring barrels are producing. So while you might have 3, 2, 1 day of power left, if you see the torque meter assembly is falling down toward the lower end of its calibration, that means the watch is not going to be keeping time to the same degree as it would if it were producing more mainspring barrel torque, transmitting more force to the escapement. So while the watch may have 15 days of power reserve, for best timing results, pay attention to the torque meter. Now, the watch also has a tremendous amount of, for want of a better term, musicality to it. The tone, sustain, and the volume are superb. And a lot of that is thanks to the welded gong system that JLC uses. The cathedral gongs, which circle the movement twice, are actually welded to the sapphire right at this point where you see the little musical note plate. That's actually the point of junction between the sapphire crystal and the cathedral gongs. If you want to see and hear one of the finest minute repeaters in the business with the finest standard of finish the Grande Maison of the Vallée de Jeu has to offer, you can see this Master Grand Tradition minute repeater and buy it on our website, watchuwant.com.